So, students, if you've reached this point, you are ready to learn some of the secrets of great programmers. Now, you could wonder why we use something as easy as Scratch. It's object oriented, which does make it so that just about anybody can learn it. But there are actually some very powerful concepts behind these little Lego locking blocks. And if you can get past the geekiness of code and understand the concepts, then when you move to real programming languages, not that Scratch isn't real, but where you're typing the words of the programming languages, perhaps I should say, it's going to make more sense. So let's go over those. So, first of all, programmers apply something called just in time learning, or JIT. Now, I've been making the videos for you so far, but there are a lot of videos inside of Scratch. You can also go on YouTube and learn how to do many things. So, if you see that somebody does it, you can do it. This is why you want to get in the gallery and play other people's Scratch games. See what they do. Click look inside, see how they do it, find tutorials. When I'm trying to learn how to do things, I am just all over the internet trying to find the secrets of things that look awesome. I'm always looking at people's websites going, cool, how did they do that? This is called JIT, or just in time learning, and all of you need to do that. You don't want to just wait for a raise your hand, helpless hand raising, somebody else has to do it for me. You have Google, you have websites, you have forums, you have all kinds of places you can go to get that information. So all the video tutorials are there in Scratch, and you can see those and get in there. So if there's some things you missed or some things you just didn't really understand, go back and take a look at what those things are. There's also the Scratch Wiki, and they have all kinds of hidden features. You can even go on YouTube and say, what are some cool things you can do in Scratch, and find some really neat things. So video tutorials, and then also message boards. And when I'm using a message board, I'm looking for power users. I'm looking for people who know their stuff. Not because I'm going to waste their time, but if I'm getting pretty advanced myself, I want to talk to people who are also pretty advanced. You can also do something called reverse engineering. So you can click and look at the best games in Scratch that MIT has picked out. Click on them and then look at the code. Now, something interesting is if you make a copy and drag it to the bottom, there's a little backpack. And that backpack lets you open up your own games and drag the code in. Just make sure if you're using variables or anything else like that, that you have you understand what you're doing, and that you just take a look at all the things that you can do. But remember, you can take a look at how code is put together, but you do have to use your own variables and messages. Things you cannot steal. You cannot steal trademarks. This was the death of Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird used something trademarked by Nintendo, and he could not use it. So rather than have to pay all of the licensing fees of that very, very popular game, he just discontinued Flappy Bird. So Flappy Bird was killed by the copyright or the trademark. You can't use copyrighted artwork. You can't use copyrighted music. No, music is not free. It costs people. There are composers, there are artists. And it costs a whole lot of money to create a studio. Just ask somebody how much it costs to rent out a studio, and you'll find out. Can't take those, can't steal them. But you can take a look at how code is put together and do that as well. Now, you do want to know how to create a variable in Scratch. And this is one of the most powerful things to know how to do. So I would definitely take a look at that, and that's when you get to be more advanced. But the one thing I want to mention about a variable. So when I create a variable, I could say I want my score to go up 1 every single time you touch the diamond. So, but I need to say whether that variable is local or global. So remember, when you shouted out that message, you had to decide what was going to receive that message. And if everything received that message, then that's more global, because that means the whole little world in there can do that. But if it's local, that would mean just one thing can access it. So for example, if I have a score and I want a lot of different things to happen to that score, typically scores are going to be global. They're going to count for the whole game, and some things will make the points go up and some will make the points go down. Same with levels. So score, points, and levels, those are all typical variables. And when you create that variable, it can vary, it can change, and this is how you create your counters and your points. There are some videos about how to make variables in Scratch. So if you didn't get that, it's time for a little JIT, just-in-time learning, to try to help you with that. So here's some things that are important. 2 types of things that you name, and this is why you need your Scratch paper. You name variables like score, lives, level, all that sort of thing. But you also name messages. Be very, very clear. The spelling counts, and so does capitalization. So diamond with a capital D is different than diamond with a lowercase d. And this is the way it is in real programming. This is why you have your Scratch piece of paper, to keep up with your variables and your messages and what they are and how they are being used. You are the one writing the program. You have to keep up with it. So spelling capitalization matters, but also whether it is local or global. Do come up with a system that works for you. This is probably one of the most important concepts that you'll learn, especially as you create a multi-level video game.